the front door to your brand is not going to be your website anymore. We are at a mercy of AI agents collecting the information, contextualizing it, ranking it, and then presenting it. Am I optimized for AI agents? Move from control to curiosity. Days are gone when you think that you are successful if you have set systems and processes and people around you. I think the era is about leadership giving permissions to their team to experiment, be a little bit messy, fail fast and succeed faster.
Even to stay at the same place, I think like technology teams, especially on the tech stack side, have to run very fast.
I believe that as we move forward, it will help if we start thinking about what services organizations have done for a while, which is this concept of pod, which are built around solving a customer problem. It was important to build credibility with those leaders who questioned you is, who are you? You don't understand my domain and you are going to tell me how you are going to move my business?
Samta Bansal is a seasoned marketing leader, shares her insights on navigating global marketing strategies and AI-driven GTM approaches. With over 25 years of experience, she explores into ever-evolving marketing landscape, balancing brand awareness with lead generation, and driving measurable business impact in the AI era. Let's hear it directly from her how she does all that good stuff she's doing.
If you have not learned one new thing in a day, you haven't made use of that day.
Welcome, Samta.
Hey, thank
Welcome
you for having
again.
me. Thank you for having me.
Would like to talk about your experience a little bit from executive aspect. So you have been in boardrooms a lot. You have been part of strategic development, giving businesses directions. Where do you see gaps between business strategy and the actual outcome of the business? I mean, sometimes things take so long and results are not as desired originally, and boardroom gets upset from the results. So where do you see the gaps are really in today's world?
I think the most common and costly gap, if I have to say, is where the strategy is built at the top, but it is not translated for the bottom. Right? And this is not a process issue. It's, in fact, a clarity gap. So you'll quite often hear bold ideas in the boardroom, right? We are going to be a platform company, or we are going to lead with customer outcomes. But what all it means for a person who has to do their day-to-day job, right? So for a marketing, for a product person, for a salesperson, how does it translate? So we leave it for them to decode what that strategic leadership, bold declaration means. And what happens next? Marketing is still chasing the MQLs, SQLs. Sales is still trying to meet their quota. Product is trying to figure it out what it means. And guess what? Execution becomes a guess game. And strategy never leaves out of your door. So that's the disconnect between that boardroom and actually real execution conversations, right? I have been asked actually, where, hey, can you actually launch certain thing, right? With a unified message across different products and across different services, when there was not even a combined narrative. Forget the idea of actually having sales aligned and in one, right? So with those multiple CRMs and multiple systems, all you can actually get to, if you think about it in a long run, will be a brand confusion and probably your employee fatigue, right? So that's the biggest challenge, I would say.
But typically changes are defined at the top and then it becomes a path from top to bottom. And like, of course, teams have to follow the directions with strategic alignment. But where do you see, I mean, yes, this is disconnected. We agree with that.
Right.
But if we want to pick up number one solution to address that, how to fix it, what leaders should consider, because they cannot listen to like thousands of employees' voice and design strategy based on what they will work on. If strategy and outcome are not aligned, teams are disconnected, then how to fix it?
Yeah, I think what we need to do is allow the space for that translation and alignment to happen before you kickstart the process of saying externally that everything is good. Because what happens in that case is it may give an illusion of alignment when internally things are not yet aligned. So I would say it's a three-step process. Number one is spend time in terms of that alignment and interpretation so that everybody, all the functions understand what that definition means at their level and how everybody is going to take their next step forward, how the KPIs are translated, what it means for sales versus a marketing, right? And once that narrative and that go to market is aligned, that's when you start showing up, right? And that's where, yes, you can go gung-ho about your messaging because guess what? Now the sales understand how to position that messaging in context of when they are in front of the customer. Or product team need now knows how to support it from the product perspective, what you're putting out there, right? And then comes your operational agility is what you will follow through. But those
Okay.
three things need to happen,
Yeah.
which means give that breathing space, do that translation and alignment within the teams before you want to go
Be
big
part
bang.
of the change.
Be part of the
Yeah.
change.
Engage with your staff,
Yeah.
with your teams, not just throw the ball off the
And give
wall.
them some direction,
Right.
right?
Give
What
them
actually
directions.
you were thinking.
Navigate
Because,
the
yeah,
change.
you have to help them navigate that change and guide them along the way. It's like bringing up a child, right?
Yeah, and take forward the gap analysis in the teams, like because the change, as you say, like teams may not be ready for that, and they just are left over to figure it out themselves.
Yeah.
Where the gaps are, why? If is it a knowledge gap? Is it a skill set gap?
Yeah.
And
All of
try
it.
try to fill up those.
Right. Definitely
Be
fill
part
up
of that.
those. And also, it doesn't hurt to share a bit more is what led you to that boardroom strategy, right? So sharing little bit of that is why of what
Transparency.
that transparency helps people digest it and know, because sometimes it could be a very drastic shift and without
Exactly.
telling the why, sometimes you can build a narrative together but you are still not getting everybody behind you with what you really wanted to, right? But if you share the why and have a good understanding for them, then they are with you all along the way, right? Pushing your agenda the way
That's
you
right.
wanted
It
it
is
to.
important to show why we are doing what we are doing,
Yes,
and
exactly.
and where it will take us, and what are our goals once this
Absolutely.
change is implemented. What the success looks like
What the success looks
after all this.
Yes.
Okay. And do you see like marketing teams and sales teams are collaborating well once they have visibility, or like there are still some more gaps downstream, like for challenges in those leadership meetings that are discussed?
I think yes and no. It totally depends on the relationship of the leaders and the teams between them. I have seen different situations. What I can say is that alignment can be your growth multiplier, because if the marketing, product, sales is not aligned, the market sees it and hears it. It's a noise to them. And if they are aligned, what you will start seeing is the shorter sales cycles, increased win rates, and the trust that the customer can place on you because they are hearing and listening the same things that each of you are saying. So alignment, as I said, is that growth multiplier, and it helps with that digital maturity. And as I said, I have seen organizations in different capacity in terms of where their alignment is, and there's always their room for improvement that can come. But yeah, tighter alignment is very, very key.
When we are talking about teams alignments, we are talking about breaking silos, right? And alignment towards the top as well. But with this technology shift in the market, even various roles are in question. Teams are overlapping each other a lot based on like a lot of automation is in place, data sharing is happening, tools are there to do a lot of functions of a job using technology. This blur line between the current roles and the future roles are actually confusing us even more. And same goes for all the staff members. So between marketing and sales and even in the leadership, some roles are in the discussions that may go out of the business. What do you think about like all that happening outside in the market, and then how teams should readjust themselves from their angle to stay in the loop?
That's a great question. Means definitely, and I know especially the tech you might be referring to is like, AI is reshaping a lot of things. And,
I wanted to avoid the term using AI. It's like in
I
every
know
sentence, every
you put
slide.
the blanket tech, but
Yeah.
we knew what
It could be
you're
just one
probably
word, AI.
yeah. I think yes, redefining the way strategy has to be led and the teams have to be built is going to happen, because there are areas where AI is now your co-pilot and can provide you that lending hand, right? And make you really efficient and help you operationalize some areas which you couldn't before. Having said that, I think the need of people and all will stay. It will be just about how do you structure the team in the way so that we are leveraging the most out of the technology that we are now disposed to, where you're experimenting, testing, adjusting, and shipping really, really fast. So that's what I mean is, rather than a campaign thinking, start getting into context thinking, right? And that's how you redesign some of these things. We always and have talked about, like, I feel like decades about data and how the data has to be intertwined and in one place. So the teams that are ready to be curious and ready to experiment, be comfortable with the uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
Is going to be really, really important.
Data-driven marketing is taking a whole new shift right now through this hyper-personalization time, that things are changing in minutes. And B2C is very individualized experience. But on B2B, we are talking to a village at a time. Strategies are developed for an account who businesses are going to target.
How B2C is slightly different than B2B. However, there are so many learnings from B2C for B2B. Let's say my first touch was where Nav saw the ad, but actually he didn't take an action. Guess what? If wherever Nav saw the ad was connected enough for me to figure out that how can I touch Nav in the other social channel immediately because he's right there, my chatbot is going to go ahead and talk to Nav at that point of interface in a slightly different way and try to convince Nav to sign up.
It should no longer be functional structured. You should combine skills.
So there will be actually, I believe, lot of reorganization or redesigning of the functions and the teams that will happen in order to optimize and deliver what we are delivering today. And let me give you an example. So today, most of the marketing team is very designed and organized in a functional way, right? I have a creative team, I have a brand team, I have a product team, I have a field marketing team. I believe that as we move forward, it will help if we start thinking about what services organizations have done for a while, which is this concept of pod, these cross-functional pods, which are built around solving a customer a problem or solving certain thing, an objective. So if we open ourselves to actually organize or reorganize ourselves with that kind of thing in mind, is okay, here is the outcome we are trying to solve for. Can I create a cross-functional pod and go and solve it? Then I think our agility will match with what the need of the era is. And I have actually used and experimented with this system in one of my consulting work with a company that I have been doing, is where what we did was we created pods based on the industry focus, because that team being startup mode is not so much worried about upsell or cross sell as much they are in terms of new customer acquisition, right? And their whole go to market is very, very industry focused. So the idea was, how can you build a pod where each of the individuals are not only agile, but also start understanding the domain, start understanding the audiences really, really well. And in that case, you can think about those pods being really focused from an industry perspective. At the same time, you can think of the pods to be aligned from a customer maturity perspective. Because, hey, I want the customers' behaviors are changing with the evolving tech. So maybe the way to also think about is how the customer maturity and the cycles work. And there are pods who are addressing those customer maturity. You still have those functions, but they are brought together in that form of pods to actually address a particular maturity step of the way. Your approach to a customer acquisition will probably be very different to solving a leaky bucket problem where it's all about nurturing my current customers, right? And the skill sets that you would need and the technology that you may need to evolve and experiment with is going to be really different. So I think that's something that all of us from a leadership perspective have to start thinking about, that what would it take to move away from that linear decision making, or the fact that you set up and launch kind of a very static behaviors we have been used to be where it is going to be more of sense and respond systems and the teams.
Okay. The pods is a special task force for a certain time to achieve a certain strategic goal, and that can solve the situation is like leadership alignment to achieve that goal, to implement the change.
It may or may not always be strategic
Okay. It
alignment
can be
at any
operational
given
too.
time, right? It
Okay.
could be, it could be even for a longer run. It's just about, it provides you the agility and the expertise in
And accountability.
evolving, yes, right, towards a certain goal.
Yeah.
And that's where it helps, because now, and let's say AI, because hey, we all have to talk about AI, it seems these days, is if this particular pod really understands these AI models and how to leverage the most of it and have experimented with it, they now know to leverage it the most, right? And assuming that if we were in a functional model where everybody was doing all the different things strategically, it's pretty hard, right? So that's where I think some of these cross-functional, cross-pod models are something that I would love to actually start experimenting more and seeing how it can help us differentiate to be more agile in our behaviors, more agile in terms of approaching marketing in general.
Looks like you are so much into AI agentic development right now. You understand it so well.
Thank you.
Do you think like leaders should learn AI themselves? Not to use as like through ChatGPT, but also like how the models work and how agents can be developed on their disposal.
I think each one of us has to know what AI can shift in my domain and
That is
beyond.
more important. True.
Right?
True.
So I would say learning the how AI is going to reshape and open up opportunities for your teams and for yourself
very well, yeah.
is going to be really critical. It's very interesting. I think just yesterday I was reading an article, and it was such an aha moment for me, because the statement that was made in that article was, the front door to your brand is not going to be your website anymore. And it will be MCP servers. I was
What
like,
is MCP?
yeah, so MCP is your model context protocol. So like in internet days when that HTTPS,
Yep.
imagine that
web
as a
protocol.
standard, right? The web protocol. So now it's think about that as a protocol for AI tools to interact with each other. So take SEO, for example, right? Search engine optimization. For 20 years or decades, right, we have been talking about keywords, we have been talking about backlinking, we have talked about domain authority. But now our customers' behavior have changed. I don't think you and I search with keywords anymore, right?
No.
We are actually searching for intent, the answers for the intent. And guess what? We are at a mercy of AI agents collecting the information, contextualizing it, ranking it, and then presenting it.
Yeah.
So your customer may never even see your brand until and unless AI agent is able to extract and contextualize it, right? This is a very simple example.
Or they already know you.
That also is questionable because, meaning agents know you? Is that what you're saying? Or the customer know
users,
you?
the customers.
You know what? This actually opens up the opportunity for them to ask that question yet again, which means that you may be open to being exposed against your competition, right?
Yep.
So what that means is that now it is not so much about search engine optimization in my example. It's about, am I optimized for AI agents, right?
Yeah.
And that goes beyond how we used to think about content. It's no longer about my content is out there, or am I out there in the same platforms that my competition is? Am I at the same events my competition is? Because it's actually more about is, how am I being interpreted by an AI agent, and am I being put in the right context for my customers, right? So it goes one step beyond that. So how now you build out your teams, your messages, your systems, so that now AI agents are actually understanding what you want them to say. And that's where this idea of GPT bots scrolling your systems, or this idea of MCP server. Does your brand have an MCP server? What do you want that MCP server to be? Right? All of those are very, very interesting.
Right now, they crawl the website, right? Like any other bots do from search engines. And then that's how they're indexing content. But this MCP will actually save a lot of bandwidth on the internet as well.
Yes. And not only that, then you have one way to interact with these AI agents, right? And you have an opportunity to figure out how do you want to show up.
Correct.
Right? And you can hopefully control few of the things that you would want to. Imagine it like a retail shop, right? Where there are different brands out there you go and pick up. These AI agents are actually looking at all of that and ranking them and putting them into context and making sense of it. So how do I want to show up?
Correct.
Right? So for those AI agents, so it's no longer to your end customers, you're actually showing up for those agents first. Imagine the power now I have. I can actually do a lot more research, and in that 48 hours, may be able to produce much better and refined and substantiative ideas to my leadership to do and make better decisions. So I think in all functions, in every capacity, we have to use this as empowering ourselves and as an extension of us. I think in this AI heavy era, authenticity is going to be very, very critical. Transparency is going to be important. Involving human where it needs to be is still going to be there. The question is going to be is where and how you insert the humans in the loop, where AI is not behind the driving wheel.
Empower your employees to take lead on the customer experience. Happy employees make happy customers.
The dashboard or reporting matrix from that perspective is going to change a whole lot, because in the end, the idea is that the business has to be profitable.
This is the whole new mindset that we have to rediscover ourselves to align with that.
Yeah.
So I was thinking to ask you, like, where do you think industry is moving in 3 to 5 years?
Yeah.
Now 3 to 5 months. Where do you see the huge shift
Yeah.
that companies should make right now to stay aligned with this fast moving market, industry trends, and competition?
Yeah. I think what is, if I have to say like a one shift, right? I would say move from control to curiosity. And what do I mean by that? Um, Days are gone when you think that you are successful if you have set systems and processes and people around you. I think the era is about leadership giving permissions to their team to experiment, be a little bit messy, fail fast and succeed
Yeah.
faster. And that's what has to happen. We talked about a
It's
lot
a
of
good
shift.
reminder.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's very, very critical. We already covered in terms of how the customer behaviors are changing, how the decision making is non-linear already. So, what can we do? Couple of things that come to my mind. Um, Forget, and that could be bold for me to say, is um, you know, campaigns, let's say. I'll put a disclaimer there, but let me say, but give more room to experimentation. What do I mean by that? Test out your messages with your AI tools. Pretend you are a customer and the intent questions they are going to ask. How do you show up against your competition? So almost your campaigns have to be treated like products where you're experimenting, testing, adjusting, and shipping really, really fast. So that's what I mean is, rather than a campaign thinking, start getting into context thinking, right? And that's how you redesign some of these things. The second I would say is, we always and have talked about, like, I feel like decades about data and how the data has to be intertwined and in one place, right? At one point we were talking about single bit of truth and we said, hey, that's very difficult. But I think what is really, really important is to have visibility into the data that are sitting across the systems. They still do in bigger organizations. Because if we really need to leverage the power of AI in the right way to solve customer outcomes, having the different variations of the similar data helps quite a bit, right? Which quite often does not. The luxury we did not have before. So, still keeping your sense into that, I think, will be really critical. We move forward with it. And then the third, I would say, is, and we touched a little bit on, the skill sets and the team structures that you're going to define as you move forward, being open to experimenting with it. The people who are not only skilled in what they do, so it's not so much about, hey, I'm a specialist, you actually ought to be a generalist. You ought to ask some of the questions that you never asked yourself before. So the teams that are ready to be curious and ready to experiment, be comfortable with the uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
Is going to be really, really important. So, and as I said, leadership to allow permission for being messy. So I think all of those combined is going to set yourself for that next era, which is going to be built on, if you did it right, built on how you allow yourself to discover by being curious and by experimenting rather than, controlling, because the curiosity will only compound your ability in this era to do better and redefine and rethink, as not only the technology, but the models in terms of how businesses will, be
Yeah.
formed and accepted is going to be different.
Yeah, you touched on a few very important points here. Being data driven and encourage your teams to take risks and help them grow from there and train them, employee engagement. All these are very strong points. And you're right, like empower your employees to take lead on the customer experience, because happy employees make happy customers.
Yeah.
Right? And if they can understand with data, with experience, and they are empowered to understand the sentiments of customers and even outcomes expected and results, cross team collaboration, they can perform much better than that.
Absolutely.
From the data perspective, you mentioned being data driven here. With AI, of course, now strategies are changing, goals are changing. Do you think metrics should change?
I think Matrix will
Yeah, because
evolve.
marketing is typically driven by lead gen, MQLs, and then like how revenue stream is working, building pipeline, and on the digital experience side, uh, traffic to the website, outreach on campaigns, email automation, like open click rate and things like that. So, I mean, these are the basics. Of course, they're gonna stay, but to the top at dashboard, like to the leadership, success metrics.
I don't think that the dashboard or reporting matrix from that perspective is going to change a whole lot, because in the end the idea is that the business has to be profitable, right? I think it will be the how we go or move towards it is going to change quite a bit than the metrics themselves. Some of it, yes, like for example website clicks, right? Yeah, they probably will be passe, because the traffic that you were trying to bring to the websites, probably half of them are already figuring that out on their chat GPTs and Claudes and Perplexities of the world, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I may not have a website click anymore, but I still may be influencing the conversions better than anybody else if I am really adept in all of the technology levers that are going around, right now. It's interesting. While I was walking for this podcast, the article popped up is learn how AI is going to help you prevent ad hijacking or actually make more of it. And I haven't read the article, but I can't wait to go back to it.
You're always
Is
updated.
but the interesting thing is, to me, is that is what us as leaders and employees have to keep the tap on and make sure that we are where we need to be. Yes, some of the metrics may change, as it should, but at the same time, from an executive level, I think most of those parameters that measures a business health is going to remain.
In this shift, since the user expectations are changing, as you said, like your website performance may go low, but it's still performing better and ultimately delivering the right content to the right people, right? Which is all about marketing's outreach. But again, your brand entity gets impacted with that because the generative AI is compiling content from multiple sources at the
Exactly.
same
Yeah.
time to give contextual information. It may be like 30% of that result is coming from your website, from overall, right? So
Yeah.
user won't know who is giving that information behind the scenes,
Right.
right? But of course, from the website perspective, it drives traffic results. Would it impact brand entity and brand perception of a business if website utilization is reduced?
I think there is an increased um, concern in our group, right, in terms of marketing brand ambassadors as to how the whole thing is evolving and what and how we can impact to ensure that our brand identity is maintained and kept intact. The thing that I think we have to do as we move forward with what we are seeing in terms of all the AI tools being the first interface for most of our clients is, how do I produce content, like I said, that is answering to the intent that we expect our customers to have in their customer journey. So you're not responding just to a question or a content, but actually the intent of what you believe the customer may ask. So the customer is not going to just now search for, you know, let's say, tell me more about XYZ company. What they're saying is, state the top 5 companies for a particular thing, right? And Your job is going to be is how do you set it up in that context and produce things where for agent AI to rank you higher and provide you much better context for it to respond against, right? And that, yes, there is a concern about the brand erosion because your brand doesn't show when ChatGPT or anything is putting up that answers. Perplexity does a better job, in my view, in terms of giving you credit today, but not all of these AI tools. Maybe something to be talked about in terms of how we can make it more transparent, right? But yeah, there is certain bit of that, but I think it's an evolving space right now where us as marketeers and we will have to just figure it out, and that's where this context of MCP servers comes in, right? How do I want to show up to an MCP server that will be mine to claim, and how secure it is, what it needs to have, and what the AI agents need to do to provide proper credentials to where they are getting the information from. So lot to be done in that
It's a
space
lot to
for sure.
digest and lot to keep up just to be at a same digital maturity level through
Yes.
this transformation. I mean, like even to stay at the same place, I think like technology teams, especially on the tech stack side, have to run very fast
Very fast,
to
and not
keep the
not
same.
only the tech side, technology stack side.
Mm,
Nav, I would say that all of us have that responsibility and accountability
yeah,
to understand the system, to say what is it going to change and or enhance for me, right? And make sure that we are taking accountability of leveraging it, because this is, to me, is such a wonderful way to extend what you could not do yesterday just being yourself. It's your co-pilot, your helper, to actually start thinking about many things. Like if a leadership was asking for some idea or a proposal in 2 days, you know, as the human capacity would allow, I probably could think of 2 ways, 3 ways in that 48 hours and research it enough, by that time to say credibly that this is what it is.
mm-hmm.
But imagine the power now I have. I can actually do a lot more research, and in
Yeah,
that 48 hours, may be able to produce much better and refined and substantiative ideas to my leadership, right?
right.
To do and make better decisions. So I think in all functions, in every capacity, we have to use this as empowering ourselves, right? And as an extension
Yeah,
of us.
yeah. Yeah, so we are talking about that earlier also, like how retail stores are experimenting AI to understand customer behavior while walking through the aisles and looking at products to understand their emotions and their sentiments about the product based on face gestures and also their buying history,
History.
not just from the data they already have. They may not have the data for that particular person in the store at the point, but uh, data is connected here and there, right? So um, and those stores are actually understanding the person's readiness, and you are using intent term a lot. I'm going to deep dive into that also later, but for now stores are also understanding intent signals of the customer in the store. The interesting thing is stores are showing them prices based on the intent signal. So they may raise the price for that person if historically that person is understood as a quick buyer. Don't look at prices when it's a decision. At the same time, same item can be shown with a different price to a different person who is reluctant to buy these kind of things and a rare buyer. So the thing I'm talking is like here, data driven marketing is taking a whole new shift right now through this hyper personalization time, that things are changing in minutes in the end customer experience. So does marketing strategy should also be developed at that scale. With this in mind, my example is B2C.
Yeah.
Okay. And B2C is very individualized experience
Sure.
to a user. But on B2B, we are talking to a village at a time, right? And strategies are developed for an account
Sure.
who businesses are going to target. What is your opinion on the strategic difference on marketing when it comes to still people from those businesses
Yeah.
that are targeted
Yeah.
individually, but still strategies are used at an account level, but experience is targeted at an individual level. So any thoughts about this? Like what should change if there is something to change?
Yeah. You know, and I think we were discussing a little bit about this, is how B2C is slightly different than B2B. However, there are so many learnings from B2C for B2B.
There are great
to
examples in B2C that B2B should learn.
Yes, exactly. I would put it as what I want to call it as customer proximity, meaning in B2B, yes, the sales cycles are mostly longer, right? You are not making impulsive decisions where you got a discount, on your phone and you're like, okay, now I'm ready to buy this, right? At least for a person like me, maybe not for Nav. But what I think when I mean by customer proximity in B2B is, with the evolving technology and AI, I think it provides an opportunity to be little bit more connected to our customer journeys than what we had before. If we are able to link the systems and really use the power of AI to not only collect the data, but create a sensory system where I can follow my customers and our campaigns to be agile enough to frame it at the moment in time for our customers, then we can get pretty close. Now, defining and designing that workflow and system is not easy. It's not simple, but it's something that there is an opportunity for us to start working on because the technology allows for us to do it. A simple example, which I feel that many people have started to do, is that, where the agents are actually sending you messages and having a, for, let's say, I'm having a workshop and I want to have people sign for it, right? In B2B context, we do it quite a lot. We are hosting an online event or anything, and we want people to register, or even an in-person events, right? Let's say my first touch was where Nav saw the ad, but actually he didn't take an action. Guess what? If wherever Nav saw the ad was connected enough for me to figure out that, how can I touch Nav in the other social channel immediately because he's right there, my chatbot is going to go ahead and talk to Nav at that point of interface in a slightly different way and try to convince Nav to sign up, right? Or if I have a question right there and somehow Nav gave me his number, I am actually going to WhatsApp and say, hey, Nav, here it's what's going on. Is there anything I can help you with? And you are actually asking, hey, how many people are there? And what are the da da da? And I'm actually responding you back and forth. You may actually be compelled to actually sign up for the registration and register for the event just because you got the questions answered, which previously you could not have had.
That is the tricky part. Like when AI goes to this frontline customer experience, and there are debates right now. I mean, if it is too sensitive or too reliable. There are success stories that I have learned.
Yes.
The chatbots have been saving a lot of time for companies and boosting metrics like in all over, and increase customer satisfaction also. And that is what but at the same time, and there are bad stories too.
Yeah.
Especially
Sure.
with technology-driven, AI-driven chatbots. This is a great story and a use case, but it's risky too, I think.
See, I think in this AI heavy era, authenticity is going to be very, very critical, right? transparency is going to be important. So involving human where it needs to be is still going to be there. The question is going to be is where and how you insert the humans in the loop, where AI is not behind the driving wheel. You are still behind the driving wheel, right? So, constructing workflows in a humane way is going to be important. You still have to be clear, you still have to be concise, and you still have to be in the loop because the old fashioned way of creating trust is not going away,
Absolutely.
right? So, while you are doing all of this, I don't think we ought to hide that it's AI talking to you, right? So, again, being authentic is okay and is important. And it's also important to figure out where the AI should be inserted in
Mm-hmm.
that loop and to
Yeah.
what extent.
And have governance in place to track
Yes.
it.
If you don't expand and find a space in tomorrow for you, that space is not going to be built for you.
Yeah.
Which is clearly what I did with this solutions kind of marketing, was where we started having initiatives which were cross products. It's how do you stay resilient and actually up in the front of the changing times. And I think that is going to be really critical in terms of defining all of us in the path forward, being current to what it is and looking for ways in which you can expand rather than waiting for others to tell you. You go and take the charge.
How should I do my assessment to be AI ready? If I want to protect my career in 1 year or two, what should I do?
Read a lot and doing a reflection on how you can use these things to enhance what you do today, and or reflection about saying how it is going to change what I do today or extend. So allow for that. And there are so many newsletters out there, influencers out there. Pick one or two that you want to start following and listening to. Right.
There are 2 3 things here. I read it somewhere and we talked about it, I think, as well, that like 90% of the content will be generated with AI by 2026. That's what is already written by analysts. Second thing, regulations are coming up. Google have recently implemented their AI related policies that AI generated content, just a duplicate content generated by AI, will not be eligible for monetization. Their monetary program is ruling out AI generated content. Third thing, Meta, Google, OpenAI, they are all going bullish on AGI and ASI game, right? They want to lead and they want to control the show on these things. And then we already know that AGI might solve the sentimental issues in the AI. It will, as Elon Musk says, AGI will actually surpass human intelligence, right? We'll see when it happens. But the thing is, like, AGI is still have like some hopes that it will happen. But again, there are different risks. Talking about chatbots, we'll wait and watch if that solves the purpose at that point to be more reliable on frontline customer experience services using AI. And you're right, there is no harm until then to say it's bot who's talking to you.
Yeah. And like I said, you have to figure out in the workflow where to intercept from a human perspective and how far you want AI to be helping you. Maybe it is about just answering the basic questions and then getting the human in the loop when the questions get really, pretty personalized or focused, right? So it's you who decides what the workflow needs to be, and that's going to be important. Is human is still deciding the intent, human is still deciding the tone. AI is cannot be your brand voice. We have to be really clear about that. AI can only be your co-pilot and a supplement as enhancer, but not the voice that you want to be. That
Yeah.
has to come from the space of a human who can be empathetic, who can be, again, that human touch, realness is going to be important.
And we say AI will replace humans. We know that humans, I mean, we still have a lot of reliability on human interactions. Customers still want humans to talk to them, and businesses still want humans to drive the show.
Yeah.
And we say humans will go away.
It's a scary thought. I don't know. I think being, just the way humans are made, we crave for,
Yeah, but of course AI is here to stay.
Sure.
Like, I mean, it's
I
not.
think none of us are saying it isn't. It's the role you will have it play
Yeah, we just have
in
to
actually
readjust
defining
all
and
things.
expanding in terms of what it can do for you,
Yeah,
for the betterment of you and for the betterment of the business and the society.
yeah. And with AI, how can we be more interactive and be more creative with AI? Any thoughts, like roles need to be rediscovered?
I think the skill sets and roles, yes, we spoke about it,
Yeah.
right? Have to be discovered. A strategist cannot be just a strategist. They need to know and understand the narrative equally well. A creative designer cannot be just a creative designer. They have to understand the go to market as well, right?
yeah.
So things like that, that cross pollination has to happen, and extension will be really, really critical. And that's why I said that every specialist will need to be a generalist in a way, so that and ready to take on and learn more than what they used to do before. So that's going to be really critical.
How should I do my assessment to be AI ready? I mean, like, if I want to protect my career
Yeah.
in 1 year or two,
Yeah.
what should I do?
Read a lot, right? Because every moment it's just amazing how every day there is something new. So make sure that you are spending time every day. Allow that half an hour, even if it is 15 minutes or half an hour. Secure that time for yourself, for that, I wouldn't call it
Learning,
upskilling, but being up to
learning.
date
Yeah.
and doing a reflection on how you can use these things to enhance what you do today, and or reflection about saying how it is going to change what I do today or extend, right? So allow for that, right? And there are so many newsletters out there, influencers out there. Pick one or two that you want to start following and listening to. And I think that's going to be really important, because in this era, AI is not going to replace jobs, it will replace people who are not going to keep themselves up to it. So the only way to do it is keeping a tab of what's happening.
And be more human,
Absolutely. Being human
not
is going to be
robotic.
at the
Like,
center of it. Absolutely. And experiment a lot. Even if your job doesn't demand it, imagine the scenarios you would get thrown in and try to build for it, right? Is and experiment with these things. That's the best that's the biggest service you can do to yourself
yeah,
today.
yeah. Anything that is repeatable in nature at my work, flag
Yeah,
it.
try to see. Yeah.
Flag it for improvement. Flag it as a risk, maybe that might get replaced.
Yeah.
Or how can I should make it better?
I was going to say, I would, rather than just flagging it, you actually, if you can, come up with a solution for it, right? Or at least a directional sense of where the teams can take it. That's even cherry on the top, because guess what?
Yeah.
Flagging is not going to help, because
yeah.
all of us are trying to figure it out. There is no playbook on AI just yet, right? So, a lot of these answers have to be collaboratively figured out. So we all have to discover or know what we do not know yet, right?
Right.
So it's very interesting times. It's actually fun.
Yeah, I'm keeping my fingers crossed to see like where we all fit in 12 months from now. Yeah, since everything is so fast changing, right?
I think all of us have a space in there. We have to just redefine, that spaces and which part of it we want to take on. So it's
Yeah.
upon us.
Yeah.
And so the accountability is on us to define our own space in it rather than waiting in terms of,
Mm.
where we are going to fit.
Yeah. Okay.
Define
Yeah.
where you will fit.
Okay, it was so interesting. Now I'll shut my notes down. I'm gonna go into your personal journey through your career. You wanna share your story that you were in your tough time on your career and how you beat that and you are satisfied with that decision.
Yeah.
How did you do that? What was it? I want to listen your story for all of us to learn from you.
Sure. I don't know. It's like I would just put it like this: is I think for me, I'm a constant learner, and I always stretch myself to go above and beyond than what I do currently. With that preface, and I think one strength that I see is for me to connect the dots, which I continuously try to do. So, with that context, I think my career started as a pre-sales person. So, pre-sales consulting, very, very techy, deep in technology, uh, and being very close to customers because sales would take me to to the customers because, of course, from a pre-sales role. And I quickly saw that how disconnected the marketing products were in terms of what customers were trying to solve for.
You hit the nail on the head.
So I think at that time, my thought process was, how do I solve this, right? So I remember working very, very closely with my product teams and saying, hey, this is what the customer is asking for, and things like that. And at certain point in my career, I was like, I need to have an ability to create a narrative that will be very focused around what the customer needs are. And that's how my journey from pre-sales to marketing came to be. So I moved into marketing, and my lens of marketing, very quickly moved from one function to actually, again, with the intent with which I had moved into marketing, was changing the narrative and actually uh, working for my customers and my sales, right? So I was never a classic product marketeer because I was always more strategic thinker and in terms of what do I need to do in order to actually influence that end game. So while my first move into marketing was a product marketeer, as I was evolving and asking those questions of telling a larger story and narrative that solves towards what the questions or our customers was asking, we quickly shaped up into what we at that time called solutions marketing. It was very new way back then, portfolio and solutions marketing, because at that time you wouldn't hear a lot of portfolio and solution marketeer. And that's the path or function I carved out for myself way, way back when we were just called as product marketeers.
You were ahead of time.
I think, again, that idea of solving for the customers and for my sellers to be able to tell that, I think I felt that is so important for somebody to be looking at those solutions, right?
Yep.
Crafting those solutions.
Right.
And like I was saying before, if you don't expand and find a space in tomorrow for you, that space is not going to be built for you.
Yeah.
And what I meant by that is, and which is clearly what I did with this solutions kind of marketing, was where we started having initiatives which were cross products, right? And I I had the privilege and an opportunity to lead some of those cross-functional initiatives at company levels. So again, expanding yourself and not be just complacent to what mold has been given to you. At least that's how I view it, as defining and keep on redefining yourself. At that time, I remember cloud was going to be becoming a thing, and there was a project initiative by our board in terms of how would cloud redefine your business models. And I was part of that initiative, where I really got intrigued by the possibilities of what cloud has to bring, not only from a business's world, but also the market expansion of what it can be. And at that time is when I moved to an industrial company, just to revolutionize that how software and cloud can actually change the game for a traditional industrial company. And that journey has been ecstatic as well, because there I got to work with a lot of industry leaders in their own domain. And I just expanded myself from not just being that solution marketeer, but also to understand, and watch closely the go to market, the commercial motions, and quickly expanding in understanding the commercial motion, because it was important to build credibility with those leaders who questioned you is, who are you? You don't understand my domain, and you are going to tell me how you are going to move my business, right? So in order to gain that trust and credibility, it was not only important for me to be savvy on the language they spoke, not only savvy about the customers they spoke to, but also the commercial motions that were required in order for that business to be successful. So now, growing from a solution marketeer to also a very, revenue and a growth marketeer mindset came to be. And again, evolving into that, then I came, I had an opportunity to get through a mergers and the divestitures phases of, my career, where I saw and led a merger and then a divestiture as well, right? And that had a completely different set of learning in terms of where I have to bring myself up to not only thinking about just now revenue side of it and just the product or the portfolio side of it, but also, okay, now how do I talk and think about the brand for this new entity that we are going to build? So again, it's about being resilient in any changing era. Oh, I forgot about COVID that came up, right? That completely changed in terms of how we look at marketing. Who would have thought, in terms of online events and all of that traction that we used
I
to
was
do.
waiting for it.
So that it's just so many things, but the net to me is, it's how do you stay resilient and actually up in the front of the changing times. And I think that is going to be really critical in terms of defining all of us in the path forward, is being current to what it is and looking for ways in which you can expand rather than waiting for others to tell you. You go and take the charge of it
Yes.
yourself.
Quite a few things to here to learn. One, be ready to change.
Yes.
Okay. And then align yourself with an outcome, not just do the task for the sake of it. Okay. Align the real value of that task with an outcome. And then learn. Learning starts your thinking
Yes.
into that direction. And then measure your outcome. and then just adjust.
Rinse and repeat.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
still remember my dad always told that if you have not learned one new thing in a day, you haven't made use
You
of
wasted
that
a day.
Yes.
Great.
And that somehow has stuck with me. And that learning can be very small too, right? It could be I learned something from my child,
Yeah.
and that's completely fine.
Yeah.
But it has to be something new that you added in your bag. And that's probably where I continue to say to everybody is, especially the technology era and the evolution we are in, is do a service to yourself. Allow that time for yourself, because life takes on. We get all busy, but this is something that we ought to do it for ourselves.
Very nice story. Thanks for sharing.
Of course.
I want to ask you one more thing. To look for a person, if you want to hire somebody to help you succeed even more, what kind of person you will look at? Like the traits, the skills, the personality kind of things, like what you will look at?
Yeah. I think we touched on it a little bit, and more so now than ever. I think I gravitate more towards people who are curious, who are ready to break the process and actually ask why and how, and help me build the how, right? Because especially in times of today, it's really important to have those kind of people who are okay, with that, comes with that curiosity and that idea of finding and charting the path. It's really, really important. So for me, that's going to be very critical. The second is, the person who is okay with the chaos and the mess. And what I mean by that is
I don't think it's by choice anymore.
yeah, exactly, right? You don't have a choice. So if you are a person who is very methodical and wants things to be done a certain way, otherwise it's hard for you to function, I think that teams today has to need a person with the mindset of okay to be a little bit messy and still trying to carve a path and a way out, right? So that's going to be important. I think data fluency and all of that, or business savviness, is given. There is no function that, if you're not business savvy, will be able to provide that kind of results that will be demanded of you, as everything is going to be so savvy from a technology and information point of view, available at you. So again, curious minds, being very comfortable with being uncomfortable, business fluency, and last but not the least, empathy, because that
That's
is
critical.
the foundation for everything. Whether it is empathetic about yourself, about your work, about your team, all of that, your customers, all of that is very, very foundational. So anybody and everybody, that's the essential ingredient that I would look for.
Very well. Thank you, Samta. Thank you very
Thank
much
you
for
so
sharing.
much, Nav, for having me.
Yep. Thanks.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us. I truly appreciate your time and attention. If something in this episode sparked a new idea, shifted your thinking, or even just made you nod along, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We are just getting started. We might have made mistakes. I promise we will improve. In every episode, I'm going to dive deeper into such conversations that impact us. And hey, if you're vibing with what we are building here, share it with someone you trust. That's how good ideas spread. Until next time, think holistic, think economics, think fast, and keep leading forward.